They told us déjà vu was harmless. A simple glitch in the brain. But what if that sensation, the one that chills your spine and freezes time, isn't an error? What if it's the truth breaking through? I used to believe what the textbook said. Until I heard stories that tore reality apart. Stories of people haunted by moments they hadn't lived, yet. Real cases so precise, so disturbing, they defy logic. You're about to hear true stories that most wouldn't dare repeat out loud. Time loops, premonitions, parallel realities, this isn't fiction. These are whispers from the edge of the veil. And once you hear them, you'll never feel safe inside your own memories again. It started small. A flickering light in the hallway. A thud in the kitchen when no one was home. The kind of thing you'd dismiss, until it kept happening, always in the exact same sequence. The déjà vu wasn't just a passing feeling, it felt like a disturbing loop, as if I was trapped in a psychological suspense scenario I'd already survived in another life. And each time it repeated, it grew more vivid. Nick, my roommate, thought I was stressed. Maybe I was. But one night, I described, down to the minute, the texts he would send me that evening. Word for word, and they came, exactly as I said. He laughed it off, but I saw it in his eyes, fear. It was no longer a feeling of familiarity. It was premonition. Or worse, ***, a memory from a parallel reality ***. The dreams began next. Every night, I was standing outside our building, looking up at the hallway window. Nick would be behind me, whispering, "There's someone else in there." His voice was calm, but hollow. I'd wake up covered in sweat, heart racing, convinced I'd just had a near-death experience, but I wasn't dead. At least, not in this version of the story. Then, one night, the dream bled into reality. I was half asleep when Nick burst into my room, pale as a sheet. "There's someone walking in the hallway," he whispered, just like in the dream. We stood by the door and listened. Heavy footsteps. No neighbors were home. It was as if we'd slipped into a time loop, a scene replaying again and again, but never quite the same. I moved out weeks later. But even now, sometimes, when I walk past certain buildings, I feel that pull again. A tingling at the base of the neck. A whisper I can't hear, but somehow understand, like that apartment still exists, in some haunted layer of reality, waiting for me to return. Or maybe I never really left. And someone else is living my unfinished life in that same space. We found the house by accident. Ryan and I were just wandering beyond the fields near his uncle's farm, just kids killing time on a gray Sunday. When we saw the broken fence and the chimney poking out from the trees, I felt uneasy, but Ryan. He froze. "I know this place," he whispered, with that kind of shaken certainty that sticks in your spine. That was our first real taste of a disturbing déjà vu. It wasn't the kind of recognition you get from seeing something on TV. Ryan walked straight to the porch like he'd lived there. He described the warped wooden door, the chipped floral wallpaper, and even the heavy mirror leaning near the stairs, before we ever stepped inside. I remember thinking, this isn't normal. It felt like we were being pulled through a tear in time, crossing over into a parallel reality. The deeper we went, the heavier the air got. You could almost hear silence breathing. Ryan stopped near the staircase, trembling, pointing upward. "She's up there." I asked who, but he wouldn't say. He just backed away. I thought it was a prank, until I heard the floorboards creak, deliberate, slow, like someone waiting for us to climb. That wasn't just fear. It was pure paranormal dread. I climbed halfway before I saw her. A woman, still, pale, her gray and blonde hair hanging lifeless over her shoulders. She stood at the end of the hallway, completely silent, not even blinking. When she turned her head slightly, I bolted. My mind couldn't process it. Was it a ghost? A hallucination? Or some kind of supernatural echo, bleeding through a crack in dimensions? Ryan wouldn't talk about it after that day. He swore he'd seen her in his dreams since he was a kid, but no one believed him. I do. Because that house wasn't just abandoned. It was haunted by memory, or maybe by versions of ourselves that had been there before. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we stayed 1 minute longer. Or maybe, in some timeline, we did. It was snowing hard that night. I was driving home late, tired, distracted, half lost in thought, until I rounded a curve and everything slowed down. I knew the turn. I knew the sound of my tires sliding. The street lamp flickering. The exact angle my body would jerk in the seat. It wasn't memory. It was a déjà vu so vivid, I could feel my own death. I slammed the brakes before the spin, like some premonition had hijacked my body. The car skidded but didn't crash. I pulled over, shaking, not just from fear, but from something deeper, like I had stepped out of a scene I'd already played in another life. That night, sleep didn't come. Just a loop of dreams showing the accident that never happened, and still felt so real. A week later, I checked the local news and found it. A fatal accident. Same curve. Same time. Same car model. Only it wasn't me, it was someone else, who'd died on that road like I was supposed to. That was the moment I started believing in parallel realities. Maybe I'd glitched out of one timeline and into another, or maybe my mind had downloaded a warning from somewhere beyond. Ever since then, I can't drive at night without feeling watched. Like something is waiting to pull me back into that final scene. I've had visions, flashes, of cold metal, shattered glass, the kind of slow-motion horror you only feel in near-death experiences. I can't tell if I escaped, or if I was replaced. Like I'm living a borrowed life now, carrying a death that never fully happened. There's a weight I can't shake. Like the accident is still out there, unfinished, looping in time until I return to claim it. That curve in the road has become something sacred and terrifying to me. I don't talk about it to anyone anymore. But I pass by it sometimes. Just to see if it remembers me, too. Working night shifts at a retirement home was supposed to be uneventful, quiet halls, low lights, just the occasional cough from down the corridor. That changed with Miss Adelaide. An elderly woman with Alzheimer's, soft voice, always staring at the same corner of her room. But what shook me was how she'd say things before they happened. Word for word. Expression for expression. Like a time loop wrapped around her. One night, I dropped a tray near the break room. A loud crash. Before it happened, Miss Adelaide whispered from her room, "Don't let the tray fall." I froze. That was before the sound. She couldn't have heard anything yet. It kept happening. Her eyes, glazed but piercing, would lock on me and she'd mumble fragments of future events. Too specific to be coincidence. Too many times to ignore. The strangest moment was during a routine room check. She grabbed my hand and said, "You've been here before, haven't you?" Again and again. I asked her what she meant. Her reply? "You died here once. You just don't remember." I felt a cold pulse through my chest, like something haunted me, but from inside a parallel reality, where I didn't walk out of that building. After her death, weird things started happening. Doors creaked open at exact times she used to call for help. The same phrases echoed in the halls, spoken by others, unconsciously. I found old records. Staff logs from 10 years ago describing disturbing events that mirrored mine. Same lines. Same voices. And always, Miss Adelaide at the center, like a fixed point in a spiral of psychological suspense and time distortion. Now, even years later, I feel like I'm still there, like the loop hasn't ended, only faded. Sometimes I dream of those corridors, only they're longer, darker. And Adelaide's voice calls from the end, saying something I can't quite hear, but always feel. True stories like hers aren't just stories. They're anchors. And some of them keep pulling. So now I ask you, how many times have you felt it? That cold pull in your stomach, that flicker of déjà vu when everything feels too familiar to be coincidence? Maybe it wasn't just a feeling. Maybe it was a message. What if your most terrifying moments, the ones you brushed off, were actually premonitions? What if your near accident, your shadow at the door, your unshakable dreams, were cracks in the timeline? How many parallel realities are we walking through blindly, choosing not to see the patterns? Are you willing to keep ignoring the signs? Or are you finally ready to pay attention, to question everything? Share your own experiences. Have you ever lived something before it happened? Felt trapped in a time loop? Encountered the paranormal, the unseen, the impossible? I want to know what haunts you. If these stories made you feel something, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell. Because what's coming next? It'll make you question not just your memories, but your entire reality.